What's up, Tailgaters? My name is Tailgate Nate. Welcome to my channel. And if you've been on this channel before, I don't normally do videos like this, but I wanted to do a little bit more of an interesting video before the college football season starts. Guys, we are 9 days away from the start of the college football season. Get hyped, get excited. This season is going to be a lot of fun. But I wanted to do a little more deep dive on two specific teams. And these are two teams that are number 1 and number 2 in most everybody's preseason top 25, including my own. And they're a team that I just uploaded my Heisman prediction video yesterday. And these are two teams that got thrown around a lot during that Heisman prediction video. I'm talking about the Ohio State Buckeyes and the Alabama Crimson Tide. These seem like they're going to be the two teams that are going to battle for number 1 all season long. And this is not going to be a video to kind of help sway that battle. Again, it may sway your opinion, but I'm not going to pull in favor of Ohio State, my favorite team I got the jersey on. Or it's not going to be a video of why I think Alabama is the number 1 team in the nation. It's not even going to be a video justifying why I put Ohio State at number 1 over Bama. If you want to see the rest of my top 25, go check out that video. I posted it on Monday. But overall, when I look at these two teams, I see the best two teams in the nation, hands down. Georgia is there, but to a lot of people, and my opinion included, they're a comfortable number 3. So we're going to kind of do a little bit more of a deep dive in this video, diving into kind of the position battles between these two teams, what they have coming back, what they have coming in, everything like that, and just kind of talk about these two teams and why they may very well be jostling back and forth for number 1. And this is the conversation that's probably not going to stop in December when the Heisman Trophy gets announced. Probably not going to stop in January when the national champion gets crowned. And probably not going to stop in April when, more likely than not, a lot of players from these two respective teams get drafted. This is going to be a conversation that goes on until next college football season. I guarantee it. So let's go ahead and dive in. But first, I appreciate all the support on my channel over the past couple of months. If you guys haven't done so already, continue to like, comment, subscribe. It does help support the channel. And hey, leave a comment down below. Maybe this video sways your opinion, maybe it doesn't. Let's get right into it. So, a quick little recap of what these two teams did last year. Everything for Ohio State's going to be on my left. Everything for Bama's going to be on my right. And you got the logos up there to help you guys out. For Ohio State last year, a lot of Buckeye faithful are saying that last year was a disappointing year. Well, let's look at what a disappointing year constitutes. They were an 11-win team, 8-1 in conference, their only loss being to Michigan, which they fell to for their first time since 2011, and they failed to miss the Big Ten championship game. Okay, yeah, for Ohio State standards, definitely was a little bit of a down year, but, I mean, in my opinion, 11 wins and then a Rose Bowl victory, and one of the best come-from-behind wins you'll see, and one of the better Rose Bowl games you'll ever see. I mean, in my opinion, again, I'm an Ohio State fan, wasn't necessarily as disappointing of a year as some Ohio State fans make it out to be. This was the best, one of, if not the best offense in the nation last year. You can see the numbers down there. But defense was what really was the struggle with this Ohio State team. How does Ryan Day intend to fix it? Well, he brought in Jim Knowles from Oklahoma State, a guy that at Oklahoma State had a top 10 defense and a lot of metrics. And he brought in Jim Knowles, and he didn't just say, all right, here's the guys you have to work with. He brought in Jim Knowles and said, I want you to go get your best guys, the guys that are going to give us a top 10 defense, and I want you to call the shots. That's what Ryan Day did, and it's going to prove to, in my opinion, help this Buckeye defense a lot. Now, on Alabama's side of things, Nick Saban said, and he is on record saying that last year was a rebuilding year for Alabama. Well, let's look at this. Well, let's look at what this rebuilding year entailed. They were champions of the SEC, the number 1 seed in the playoff. They won their semifinal game against Cincinnati until falling to the eventual national champion Georgia Bulldogs in the national championship game. But Alabama, clearly from last season, was better than Ohio State was. And I'm not here to debate that and try to push back on. No, Bama was better than Ohio State last year. But we're going to talk about these two teams this upcoming year. Bama, really good offensively last year, really good defensively last year. But again, Nick Saban said that it was a rebuilding year last year, which is scary if Nick Saban is saying that. He's probably the best head coach to ever do it. What does Bama have in store for the nation here in 2022? Well, let's kind of dive into that in a little bit. We're going to go position by position and kind of look at what these teams have at their respective positions. And this next slide that I'm about to pop up here, this is going to be the talk all the way up until late April when the NFL draft starts. I'm talking about the quarterback room. CJ Stroud versus Bryce Young. Who wins the Heisman? Who goes #1 overall? Which team wins the national title, right? Which one of these quarterbacks is going to lead their team to a national title? This is going to be the talk for the next 8 months in the college football world. CJ Stroud, we're going to start with, let's start with Bryce Young. The Heisman winner from last season is currently the second betting Heisman favorite at plus 350. That's courtesy of Vegas Insider. Had almost 5,000 yards last year, 47 touchdowns, 67% completion, and had the second highest QBR in the nation in 2021 at 87.6. If I had to write a storyline for Bryce Young this year, he's going to be looking to become the second ever two-time Heisman winner. The only other player to do it, a legendary running back in Archie Griffin at Ohio State. So a little bit of a tie in there. But Bryce Young was every bit as good as advertised last season. It's going to be hard for him to replicate what he can do last year, especially with some of the losses that some of his position grouping suffered. But Bryce Young is well more than capable of winning the Heisman Trophy for a back-to-back season this upcoming year. And he's going to be a phenomenal talent and one of the best quarterbacks in the nation this year. Now, when you look on the side of CJ Stroud, well, things did not start off great for CJ Stroud last year. Was underthrowing, overthrowing guys, not really making the smartest of decisions with the football. Had to sit out the Akron game and kind of got the chance to collect himself. And ever since he entered that game against Maryland, I mean, he just did not look back. Was fantastic. You see his final stat line down there, but almost 4,500 yards, 72% completion percentage, and finished with the highest QBR in the nation at 91.6. Really, really good QBR. Was 4 points better than the Heisman winner from last season, and he's the current Heisman betting favorite at plus 200, again, courtesy of Vegas Insider. And I mean, just the storyline is he had an amazing year one, and those were the first set of collegiate passes he ever threw. This will be his second set, and it looks to be even better. The talk around CJ Stroud is, well, he's got a new helmet, and it seems to be fitting him better. He seems more comfortable in it. And that shows on the field, too. He's been making smarter decisions, faster decisions, quicker decisions. He's been smarter about his decision-making. They've been saying he's been getting more accurate, which is scary news for the rest of the nation. Both of these quarterbacks are probably going to be the top 2 quarterbacks in the nation, and we're probably going to see both of them in New York. But if I had to give the edge to one team, I'm going to give the edge to Ohio State. Not only is CJ Stroud my predicted Heisman winner, but they have guys like Kyle McCord and Devin Brown back there. Guys that we've seen, especially in likes of Kyle McCord, and we know what he can do. Behind Bryce Young, guys like Jalen Milroe and Ty Simpson. Again, some guys that maybe have some things to prove and some things to work out. But when you look at both of these quarterbacks, again, very, very close. No real separation quite yet between these two teams, as these are going to be the best 2 quarterbacks in the nation. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at the running back room. This is where I think some separation starts to take place, but it's to no fault of one of these teams. Let's start with Ohio State this time. Their running back room has taken a little bit of a hit this offseason. Marcus Crowley had to medically retire in May because of some injuries he had sustained. And then just recently, Evan Pryor is going to be out for the year with a knee injury. However, Ohio State still does have their top 2 options at running back from last season. That's Travion Henderson and that's Mayan Williams. Travion Henderson is a great dual threat running back, and I think is going to be one of the best, if not the best running back in the country this upcoming year. Definitely is top 10 in my mind. Travion Henderson is a really, really, really good player. And then Mayan Williams, and he tore up the scene last year as a true freshman. Who knows how good he's going to be as a true sophomore this year. And then Mayan Williams, I think is going to be a really solid backup option. He's a big power guy, can run through anybody. Had 507 yards last year. Not as big of a receiving threat as Travion Henderson is, just because of Travion Henderson's agility and quickness. But these are 2 solid options in the running back room. Now, you got to wonder with all these injuries, who Ohio State's 3rd string running back is going to be. Well, it's going to be a true freshman running back by the name of Dallin Hayden. You can see his high school senior stats there, but, I mean, almost 2,000 yards, 30 touchdowns from, I believe, the Nashville, Tennessee area coming in. It is a true freshman this year. Who knows how much playing time he gets. I expect he gets quite a bit more playing time than previously expected just because of, again, all the injuries sustained. And, well, besides these 3 guys, Ohio State has 3 walk-ons in the running back room. So these are going to be the 3 guys that see the field the most for Ohio State out of the running back stable. But let's dive over to the Alabama side of things here really quick, because Jahmyr Gibbs is a high-profile transfer coming over from Georgia Tech. was the Georgia Tech's leading rusher last year, but was also that team's second leading receiver with 470 yards. So Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be an even better option out of the backfield to catch the ball than TreVeyon Henderson will be for Ohio State. Now, in my humble opinion, I do believe TreVeyon Henderson is the better running back than Jahmyr Gibbs, if maybe only by that slight of margin. I think they're both going to have spectacular seasons, but I do believe TreVeyon Henderson is the best running back you see on screen. However, I do believe Alabama has more depth at the running back position than Ohio State. Again, it's to no fault of Ohio State. They've had to deal with some injuries, but injuries are a part of the game and you have to adjust. Alabama has not had to deal with those injuries quite yet. There are guys like Trey Sanders, Jace McClellan, and if you want another name, Roydell Williams is back there as a running back for Alabama as well. So when I look at these two schools, I do believe that Ohio State has the best running back on the board, but I think Alabama's depth at the running back position is going to give them the slight edge in this position battle. Jahmyr Gibbs, Trey Sanders, Jace McClellan, they're all going to see the field for this Alabama team, and I think they all can put up some really, really good seasons. Okay, so now we've kind of tilted the scales back even a little bit, maybe slightly in favor of Alabama. Let's tip it back even a little bit more with the wide receiver room. We're going to start with Alabama this time. Ja'Cory Brooks and Cam Latu come back for this Alabama team. Now, Alabama does lose 2,000-yard receivers from last year, and Jamison Williams and John Mechie, they are now both in the NFL. But, I mean, when you take a look at the talent that's coming back, Ja'Cory Brooks, Cam Latu, and Cameron Latu was the second leading receiver the third leading receiver, I should say, on this team last year. But Alabama's going to need some of their transfers to kind of step up and take hold here. Jermaine Burton is a transfer coming over from Georgia, who, well, in case you forgot, won a national title with the Bulldogs last season. And then Tyler Harrell has world-class speed out of the wide receiver position from Louisville last season, and he's going to be just a speedy guy. If he gets in the open field, good luck catching him to any, and I don't care if you're the best defensive back in the nation, good luck catching Tyler Harrell in the open field. He is fast as lightning. So Alabama definitely is going to be needing some guys to maybe take a step up and is going to need some transfers to work out. But there are some names sitting back there that aren't on the screen that you do need to take note of. JoJo Earl has been a little bit banged up, but once he gets back, he'll have some playing time. Trayshawn Holden is back there, as well as Christian Leary, and this is, I mean, just a ton of freshmen sitting back there for Alabama, the wide receiver stable as well. So, I mean, Bama has got a fairly deep wide receiver room, but I believe that Ohio State has not only the best wide receiver in the nation, but may very well prove to have the deepest wide receiver room in the nation there as well. Now, of course, you guys have all heard this name right here below me. Jackson Smith-Njigba tore the scene up last year, set records in the Rose Bowl, had a fantastic season, and has had just an absolutely ridiculous fall camp as well. Now, Ohio State also lost two 1,000-yard receivers in Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson. But both of those guys even pointed to Jackson Smith-Njigba when I believe it was Kirk Herbstreit who was interviewing all three of them. They both pointed to JSN and said, we're good, but this guy is the real deal. This guy is ridiculous. He'll be leading the Buckeye wide receiver attack again this year. But there are some other names you need to take note of. Marvin Harrison coming back as wide receiver. He kind of had his coming out party in the Rose Bowl. Emeka Egbuka kind of had a little bit of a coming out party in the Rose Bowl there as well. If you want some other names back there, sure. Cameron Babb, Jaden Ballard, Xavier Johnson, a couple freshmen back there as well for Ohio State. This is the deep wide receiver room. Notice I haven't said one name yet. Ryan Day came out just recently, I believe it was a week, if not a couple weeks ago, and named his most improved player this spring. And it was the guy you see in the middle of your screen there, Julian Fleming. Ryan Day said he had the best fall camp out of anyone in scarlet and gray. He is poised to have a breakout year this year. It seems like Emeka Egbuka, I feel like, could do the same thing. This is a very, very deep group of Ohio State wide receivers. And for the second straight year, this is an Ohio State team that could very well end up having the best group of receivers in the nation yet again. So scale may be slightly tilted towards Ohio State, or it's adjusted back even, however you see it. Okay, let's really tip the scale now. The final position on the offensive side, the offensive line. We're going to start with Ohio State because, in my opinion, I do believe that these are going to be the five guys that they trot out on the field against Notre Dame for that first drive. You got Paris Johnson and Donovan Jackson on the left side of the line. You got Matthew Jones and DeJuan Jones on the right side of the line, and Luke Whippler in the middle, going to be snapping the football. And yes, while they do lose some guys on the offensive line, most notably Nicholas Petit-Frere, this Ohio State team was really, really good at protecting C.J. Stroud last year. 1.31 sacks per game. They only allowed 17 total all season. That was 15th in the nation, and they were 15th best in the fewest sacks allowed last season. That rate also being 15th in the nation as well. So when I look at this Ohio State offensive line, I mean, these definitely, in my opinion, are the 5 guys. If you want some other names back there, there's Trey Leroy, James Jacob, Enoch Vimahi, Josh Fryer, and Zen Maikovsky are backups in their respective positions. At least that's how it's listed on ourlads.com. Couple freshmen back there as well. I mean, this is just an offensive line that I expect to be really good in 2022. Alabama's, on the other hand, I can't really say the same quite yet. This was an offensive line that, even with the talent they had, such as Evan Neal and some more players, they struggled last year. Tyler Steen, Javion Cohen, and again, this is the projected offensive line on ourlads.com as of recording this video. Again, I know that Alabama's offensive line, this may not be the 5 guys they start against Utah State in week 1. But as of right now, Tyler Steen, Javion Cohen on the left side of the line, Emil Ekiyor, J.C. Latham on the right side of the line, and there's a little bit of a battle for the center position. Darian Dalcourt is the more experienced option, as he is a true senior, but redshirt sophomore Seth McLaughlin, to a lot of Bama faithful, is the better center. But no matter who Alabama starts, and some other names for you, Tanner Bowles, you got the Brockermeyer brothers back there, Kendall Rudolph, Damian George, Amari Kite. Those are all some other guys that can push for starting roles on this offensive line. And, I mean, when you take a look at their stats from last year, it's just, this is an offensive line that needs a lot of improvement. They allowed 2.8 sacks per game, 42 total. That was 106th in the nation, that rate. And they were 8th worst in total sacks allowed. I mean, this is an offensive line that needs improvement, and they need improvement fast. Scale tilted a little bit now in favor of the Ohio State Buckeyes. Well, let's change that back, right? Let's look at the defensive side of the football. And, well, let's start out with, of course, keeping it on the line of scrimmage. Let's start out with the defensive line. Alabama has got a lot of guys on the defensive line that are going to wreak havoc this season. DJ Dale, Justin Eboigbe, Byron Young, Tim Smith. Some other guys you don't see on this list are Jamil Burrows, Monkel Goodwine, Tim Keenan, Damon Payne, and some more guys, especially a freshman in Jaheim Otis sitting back there at the nose tackle position. I mean, this is a defensive line that is really, really good, returns a lot of talent from last season. Yes, you do lose PMAT, or Fedarian Mathis, off of that offensive line, or off of that defensive line. My apologies. But when you look at this defensive line for Bama, I mean, it's still going to be scary. Yeah, they don't necessarily, the guys returning don't necessarily have a lot of sacks from last season, but we'll talk about why that is here in a little bit. This is still going to be one of the best defensive lines in the country. Now, looking at the Ohio State side of things, again, new defensive coordinator Jim Knowles has said only positive things about this defense so far, and he likes the way that this defense is coming along. Well, the defensive line, I don't think is a huge question mark for Ohio State this season, especially with the talent that they have. JT Tuimoloau, that is how I believe you say that last name, Jack Sawyer are going to be some guys you'll see on the defensive end, as well as guys like Melton Mitchell, Javonte Jean-Baptiste, and Tyler Friday. On the interior of the defensive line, you got some really, really big boys in Taron Vincent, Tyleek Williams, sitting behind them, Ty Hamilton, Jerron Cage, Michael Hall, some other names back there as well. And, I mean, some of these players are supposed to be poised for breakout years. Jack Sawyer has been talked about as the next Joey Bosa, Chase Young. JT Tuimoloau may very well prove to be that guy. Tyleek Williams could have a breakout year, but the guy I want you to watch in this Ohio State defensive line is in the center of the left-hand side of your screen, and that is Zach Harrison. Had 25 tackles, 6 tackles for loss last season. Now, Zach Harrison was supposed to have a breakout year last year, and he was getting a lot of attention from NFL scouts. And it just didn't really work out for him last year. This year, maybe not as much attention is going to be put on him, but boy, is he going to be ready to break out. Is he going to be ready to just have a huge season for this Ohio State team? And again, this is going to be, I think, another deep defensive line. Could prove to be one of the better defensive lines in the nation there as well, albeit run defense kind of a little bit or not even a little bit, was a lot of the concern from Ohio State last season. But also when you look at Jim Knowles, his defense at Oklahoma State last year ranked in the top 10 in sacks. And this is an Ohio State team that just on screen, doing some quick math here, returns, I believe, around 12 sacks of production from what you see on screen. So 12 to 15 sacks from what you see on screen, and there are more sitting in the backfield. So I think this is going to be two really good defensive lines, but I do give the slight edge towards Alabama. Okay, let's really tip the scale now. Let's go on to the linebackers, where Alabama is just, loaded. It is ridiculous. Will Anderson is a generational type talent, led the nation with 17.5 sacks last year, 31 tackles for loss. Just ridiculous. You're never going to see another player like Will Anderson ever. Henry To'oTo'o was the leading tackler last year. The former Tennessee transfer, he comes back for this team, had 111 tackles. Dallas Turner, one of the better pass rushers on this Bama team, coupled with Will Anderson at the linebacker position, provides, just a fierce competition for anyone that is going to be looking any offensive line is going to be looking to protect their quarterback against these two guys. Jalen Moody is there as well. And if you want some other names, you got guys like Chris Braswell, Deontay Lawson, Kendrick Blackshire, Ian Jackson, among some other freshmen back there as well. Demoy Kennedy, Quandarius Robinson, a couple other names there as well. This is just a deep linebacker room for Alabama, and I'm already telling you the scale is tipped way in favor of Alabama on the linebacking side. But Ohio State, not necessarily devoid of talent, but the linebackers may very well be the biggest question about this defense coming into this year. Steel Chambers was a running back turned into a linebacker that had a good season for him last year. Otherwise, they are returning some pretty key pieces in Cody Simon, Tommy Eichenberg, Taraha Mitchell is there as well. You also got Reed Carrico, Pale Gauteote, who was the former USC transfer, and then Chip Trayanum, who is a running back, again turned linebacker, and an Arizona State transfer coming in this season. But the guy I think I want you to keep your eye on for this Ohio State linebacking group is the man in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen, and that's C.J. Hicks. As a high school senior, had 84 tackles, 18 tackles for loss. Couldn't find his sack numbers, but, he had a really good season. And is the #1 linebacker in the class of 2022. I think he's going to have a good year for this Ohio State program. It's a linebacking group that, again, you're only going to see 2, maybe 3 linebackers on the field at a time, as Jim Knowles runs a 4-2-5 defense, kind of what most coordinators are starting to run now. But Jim Knowles runs it at such an effective level. Linebacking group, as an Ohio State fan, is kind of my biggest concern about this team. Again, the talent not necessarily there as prominently there as it has been in previous years, but with Steel Chambers, Eichenberg, Simon, Mitchell, Hicks, some other guys back there, I think this is going to be a little bit of a sneaky deep linebacker room if they can get their stuff together, but they just don't compare to what Alabama has on their side of the ball. Scale tipped way in favor of the Crimson Tide. And for the final position we will cover, let's go ahead and move on over to the secondary, where let's start with Ohio State. The secondary dealt with injuries last year. Sevyn Banks was hurt. He has transferred out. There are some other injuries there as well. And Josh Proctor was hurt. However, Josh Proctor does come back. You also have your leading tackler overall on your defense last year in Ronnie Hickman. He comes back. Guys like Cam Brown and Denzel Burke at the cornerback position. Hey, they love to blitz Cam Brown. He had 3.5 sacks last season. We'll see what Jim Knowles does with him. But there's a transfer coming. Oh, and Denzel Burke led the team last year with 12 passes defended, is as good of a lockdown corner as there is in the Big Ten. But Tanner McAllister, that's the name that I want you to watch in this Ohio State defense. He's coming over, following his defensive coordinator over from Oklahoma State, and he's going to provide some experience in this Jim Knowles system and just overall experience to this Ohio State team. Tanner McAllister going to be playing nickelback, had 42 tackles last year, and again, like I said, his experience with the Jim Knowles system. You want some other names back there? Short, J.K. Johnson, Kai Stokes, and Sonny Styles. J.K. Johnson, the redshirt freshman. Kai Stokes, Sonny Styles, a couple true freshmen. You got Court Williams, Jordan Hancock, Cameron Martinez, Lathan Ransom, among some other freshmen back there as well. So this could prove to be a really deep secondary for Ohio State. But again, secondary has been an issue for Ohio State the past couple of years. It's a secondary that's got some stuff to prove. Nowhere near devoid of talent, but they definitely still have some stuff that they have to prove. Meanwhile, for Alabama, this was a really good secondary last year, and it should be a really good secondary again this year. Returning guys by the likes of Brian Branch, Jordan Battle, DeMarco Helms, Kool-Aid McKinstry, who all 4 of those guys had over 25 tackles last year. In fact, Jordan Battle and DeMarco Helms, I believe, were the 3rd and 4th leading tacklers on this team last year, and both of them 3 picks as well. Brian Branch at the star position had, had 9 passes defended, also 5 tackles for loss. I mean, this is a really good secondary at Alabama. And they also have a good transfer coming in. His name is Eli Ricks. He's a transfer coming over from LSU that never really, in my opinion, got the shot he quite deserved to LSU, although he still put up some really good stats. I think he'll be utilized really well by this Alabama team, and he could end up being their best defensive back once it's all said and done. You want some more names? Sure. Terrion Arnold, Devontae Smith, no, not the wide receiver, the free safety, Christian Story, Malachi Moore, Kyrie Jackson, Jaquez Robinson, among a plethora of very, very talented freshmen coming in. So again, secondary, I slightly lean towards Bama, but a lot of this Ohio State defense is just they have stuff to prove, right? Can Jim Knowles come in and fix a lot of the issues with this Ohio State defense? So let's give you kind of a quick recap on what I think about each position battle. So if I feel like Ohio State has the advantage, it'll be highlighted in red. If I feel like Alabama has the advantage, it'll be highlighted in gray. Starting out with the offense, I do give the overall advantage to Ohio State. I really like a lot of the pieces that are on this offense, and I think they're going to be one of the best offenses in the nation again in 2022. I believe they have the better quarterback room, wide receiver room, and offensive line room. I do believe Bama has the better depth at running back, even though Ohio State may have the best overall running back out of anyone that either team can field, but Alabama definitely has a lot more depth in that running back room as of right now. Defense, I mean, just tilt it all in favor of Bama. Ohio State's defense got a lot to prove this upcoming season, and they have a lot that they need to get done this upcoming year. Now, special teams, not something that we looked at, but hey, not something that we looked at closely, but something that, again, it's a part of football. It deserves to be mentioned. I tell everything in favor of Ohio State, and again, that is some slight tilt. Will Reichard comes back for Alabama, and Noah Ruggles comes back for Ohio State. Well, Noah Ruggles is as automatic of a place kicker as you'll see in college football. Jesse Mirko, the punter for Ohio State. James Burnip, the punter for Alabama. I believe Jesse Mirko is the better punter. And then in the return room, Alabama's going to be dealing with some injuries there. Again, JoJo Earl is not there. They're going to have guys like Jahmyr Gibbs, maybe even guys like Eli Ricks, Tyler Harrell fielding some punts and kickoffs, while Ohio State is fully healthy there. Emeka Egbuka is a really good returner. Cam Martinez, Jackson Smith and Jigba, and Evan Pryor. Well, Evan Pryor hurt now, of course, but maybe they bring in another guy by the likes of maybe Julian Fleming to return some punts and kickoffs for them. So overall, again, overall, if you look overall, maybe slight edge towards Ohio State. But again, I'm not here to make that claim. I mean, I just threw out who I think has the advantage in each position. You guys let me know who you think is going to be number one this upcoming season. Let's take a little bit of a look at these teams' schedules. Again, these are my only 2 undefeated teams coming into this college football season. Ohio State, and this is per ESPN's FPI, by the way. Ohio State has the 35th ranked toughest schedule, and Alabama has the 7th ranked toughest schedule. Again, that is per ESPN's FPI. Take note that they are high on Texas. They're also pretty high on teams like Mississippi State and LSU and Auburn. And they're not necessarily high on some of the teams like Penn State that might have a bounce-back year, like Maryland, that have a pretty solid passing attack. And what helps Ohio State's schedule is they only go on the road 4 times. But again, 3 of those 4 road games, I think are going to be tricky. Michigan State, Penn State, Maryland. I mean, both these teams have tough schedules. I think there's no denying that. I think both of them can run through it, but who knows what will happen if these 2 teams end up meeting in January. That was kind of my look at the case for number 1. Again, I'm not here to kind of favor one side or the other. You guys let me know who you think. Maybe after this video, maybe you disregard everything in this video, you have your own opinion. Let me know what you guys think. Who is the number 1 team this upcoming season? Is it Ohio State? Is it Alabama? Will these 2 teams play in January for a chance to win a national title? That is yet remain to be seen. I appreciate you guys for watching. I know this was a longer than usual video, but I appreciate you guys clicking on the video and watching this one all the way through. Please remember to like, comment, subscribe, share my videos. It does help support the channel in every way possible. And remember to play hard, but tailgate harder. I will see all of you guys in the next video. Goodbye.